Welcome back, everybody. It is the PDPreps podcast coming to you February 13th, around noon. Gus Morris, Keenan O'Doherty. Great show for you guys coming today. Lots of stuff to get to. Touching on a whole bunch of things. Last couple weeks of the league races for basketball and soccer around here. The playoffs are starting up this week. We'll be going in and breaking down all of the brackets for basketball and soccer teams. Keenan has you covered with some wrestling stuff at the end because postseasons are starting up there this week as well. There's some really exciting finishes in the league championship, meets and matches and stuff this past weekend. So yeah, I mean it's crazy, but we are in the home stretches here of the winter sports season already. I mean, there's already baseball teams that are starting up and playing, which is kind of terrifying, but one thing at a time here. We'll get to all that coming up here on the show, but quick thing first, we'll start with you'll notice that there's only two of us here today. No Jordan Lattimore, and that is because Jordan has actually accepted a job with the Sacramento Kings. He'll be doing some digital media work for them behind the scenes. We wish Jordan all the best. Yeah, our time with him was way too short. That guy is super talented, awesome dude. Big loss for us, but a huge gain for the Kings. So yeah, so just gonna start off the pod with that. But Keenan, you and I back to a two-man crew. Loved our time with Jordan, man, but he's bound for some really awesome things in his career, and just an opportunity that he couldn't pass up. So we'll definitely miss him.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and like you said, we love Jordan, and just talking to Jordan in this process, he really loved you people over in Napa as well. He loved getting along with you guys, meeting you guys, everything like that. So definitely not a decision that he took easily, to say the least. But life moves on. He moves on, and back to the original dynamic duo, I guess you could say.
We're back. So well,
Yes.
and yeah, quick last thing on this too. I mean, Jordan was fantastic. I mean, it was definitely a bit of a risk for him too to kind of step over here and take on the Napa job. It's still an expansion project for us. And there was just I think part of this too is there's just a lot more stability over with his role with the Kings. Journalism as a whole, the industry is, goes through its ups and downs, and it's, there have been some tough times here in the last couple months, years, whatever you want to say. So, just an opportunity that, Jordan thought was best for him. And I, honestly completely agree for him. So, super talented guy, fantastic guy, really talented writer and reporter, guys going places. So, yeah, I mean, Jordan, we're wishing you all the best, man. So, thanks a ton too for the, again, 4, 5, 6 months, whatever it was, that you're, on the Napa coverage. Cause, like Keenan said, it's, we tons of good feedback, from the people over there. So, definitely be missed, a lot. So, hats off though, Jordan. Congrats on a good run over here, and yeah, best of luck going forward too with everything. So.
Yep, 100%, 100%. And well, last over from this thing too here, what we say Jordan leaves, and like the immediate question is like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen with the Napa coverage? As of right now, Gus and I will try to fill that role as best we can, bring you guys Napa coverage, everything like that. Gonna be a lot, but but gonna be a lot, but we know how much the Napa sports folks over there love the Jordan's coverage, and we'll try to keep that going as best we can. Definitely have a lot of Napa area teams in the playoffs for different sports this year, so definitely a good time to keep that rolling for sure.
100%. Yep, we'll do our best to fill Jordan's shoes here. So and yeah, like Keenan said, lots of good stuff coming up. A lot of Napa teams playing off into the playoffs. So yeah, we'll do our best to kind of keep everyone covered on that stuff. So all right, Keenan, let's jump right into it. We'll get into basketball. We'll start off with basketball. Go through kind of how the league races finished up, talk about some of the more exciting races we had, look at our final rankings for the regular season, and then talk about the playoff brackets and kind of seedings and our big takeaways from that. Those came out on Sunday, and then we'll kind of do the same thing with soccer at the end. So yeah, jumping right into it with hoops. But ladies and gentlemen, we have our, wow, man, what is this? Like 12 league champions. Kind of going through it all. I mean, going through the NBL, Oak, Redwood, VVAL, NCL 1, 2. Yeah, it was a pretty exciting last couple of weeks. I think the last time that we left you guys, I think was January like 30th. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. So I think we talked about then. It's like, hey, I think that was the last week of the regular season was that one. And then last week obviously, was the was the league playoffs and such. So yeah, things have settled now. Again, if you're watching this pod, you probably know how all of these things broke down, but we'll just kind of go through the list here of the league champions. But NBL Oak, Montgomery and Colonel Newman were actually co-champions, and then Montgomery went off and won the league tournament. The Newman girls, no surprise, won the NBL Oak title. I think it's their 10th straight NBL title, I want to say. NBL Redwood boys, Ukiah won the regular season league title, and then St. Vincent came back and won the league tournament. Big win over Ukiah, actually, in that championship game, too, which definitely helped them for the playoffs. NBL Redwood girls, Healdsburg, my Greyhounds, finished off, I think their second straight NBL Redwood title, also won the league tournament. VVAL, Justin Sienna, 12-0 in the VVAL, had a really good finish there. A couple tight games at the end, get Petaluma and American Canyon, but they finished off the year undefeated, also won the league tournament. Justin Sienna girls stumbled a couple times there at the end of the season. I think it's lost to Sonoma Valley, I think to American Canyon as well, but then they came back, they won the league tournament. And then smaller schools, NCL 1, St. Helena, I believe they were co-champions, actually, I think with, it might have been Kelseyville, and I think Kelseyville went on to win that league tournament. NCL 1 girls, Cloverdale and Middletown. Cloverdale's having a really, really good season this year. Not a team that we've talked about or covered a lot, but they definitely will get some mention today in our playoff breakdown. Cloverdale and Middletown were co-champions, I believe, at 10-1. Cloverdale came back and won the league tournament over there. Then NCL 2, again, small schools haven't gotten much love this year, but we'll try to mention them a bit today. But Sonoma Academy, boys and girls, won NCL 2 titles there. So, Keenan, I think we'll kind of look at, we're not going to talk about every single, how all of the league races broke down, but best finishes though. I think that there were a couple that really stood out. I think first and foremost was the NBL Oak boys, boys race. I mean, two best teams in the county, two of the best teams that, in the North Bay, Monty and Newman. I mean, this is kind of like how it was last year a bit with Windsor, with Windsor Newman. Both teams finished the year, as the co-champions in the league, and then they had a very exciting final game in the championship game. But I mean, we were both there actually at Rancho. That was on Friday. It was a great game. It was like, I mean, that was one of the more packed. I mean, I think that was the biggest crowd that I've seen for a game so far this year.
This year for sure.
Rancho can fit like 2,000 people at least into that building, and I'd say it was far more than half. I wouldn't go as far as 3/4, but like maybe 2/3 full. Like it was pretty big. Student sections were up, they were going. Broadcasts were going from YSN. Like it was an awesome atmosphere. Yeah. Well, I mean, what did you think of that? Because Monty came out and second half just. Like they're playing so good right now, but they just like put the clamps on in the second half. Rough first quarter shooting, 14-4, and then from there it was just all Montgomery. But I mean, what did you think of that game? Because I mean, I know that you've seen Monty and Newman. You saw them back in the first meeting in December. But what do you think about them now? What is this, two months later?
I mean, look. Newman just keeps, I'm not going to say surprising, but keeps exceeding like everyone's expectations, considering, where they were coming into the season. Everyone expected it to not be a down year, but no, young team, all this other stuff. Had to wait for Tatum Kropinski. Monty Kamara was injured going on. And then, they played Monty to the final bucket in their first meeting, ended up losing by a bucket. Second go around, Gus, you were there. Newman took the win in that one, and then third time's a charm. Newman's defense just came out on fire, big time. Monty couldn't really score anything. They were getting looks, but just not hitting anything at all. I'm not sure what it was, but then like you said, second half, Monty, specifically Caden DeVries, just took over and and I think their lead was up to like 13 at one point or something like that. It
Yeah,
was it
they
was
were
it
up by
was
like
crazy.
16 or like 15 or 16. It
Yeah.
was crazy. I mean, like, well, and we were about to, like saying too after the first quarter. I mean, Newman was up 14-4, and then Legend Highlight hit a crazy deep like pull up 30-foot three at the buzzer, and you're thinking, oh, this could be a long night for Monty. Um, and and honestly, it could have been worse too. I mean, Newman
Oh,
had
could have
so
been. Well, that's
many
the craziest part.
new right, and I mean, like Newman had so many open looks and just couldn't get anything to like, just like numerous open threes, a couple gimmies up close, just couldn't fall. And I mean that really could have been like a 15-point game, like after the first quarter. It was pretty wild. Big second quarter for Monty. They come back. Michael Yule had probably, I mean, the best game that I've seen him play so far. I think he had
Mhm.
9 of his 13 points in the second quarter. Got Monty back into the game. They were only down 2 heading into halftime. And then yeah, Caden DeVries kind of took over. He hit a couple big threes in the fourth quarter. Monty went on. I think Monty held Newman scoreless for the last 6 minutes of the game, and the only 2 points that they had, I think, within those 6 minutes was like a pair of free throws with like 30 seconds left and the game already over. So Monty's defense just absolutely clamped down. Diego Gonzalez Flores, one of the better players in the county, one of Newman's better players, scoreless, which is crazy. I mean, that just shows how kind of locked in Monty's defense was. But yeah, Caden DeVries, he had 16 points in the game, 10 in the second half. But Monty also got some big contributions. I mean, Isaiah Wright hit a couple big threes. Who was it? Savon Ang, sophomore. He hit a big three.
Yep.
The biggest thing though, oh yeah, also Will Graff hit a three. I mean, this is when they start to play like this and they get contributions, from all over their roster. I mean, this is why they're like,
This is the Monty we
this
expected.
is the yeah. I mean, Caden DeVries going off and getting his own shot. Michael Yule, who had 19 rebounds, by the way, I think 7 or 8 of those were offensive. I mean, that also helped essentially, clinch the game. But when they're playing great defense, when they're getting their role players to contribute and hit some shots, and when Caden's balling, it's a very hard combination to beat. So Newman definitely got the full Monty experience, I'd say, on Friday. I mean, and Monty's playing some of its best basketball, I'd say, of the year right now, which is great timing for them. But yeah, I mean, not to discredit Newman too. I mean, they are a very young team. I think their youth kind of showed a bit in that game where Monty just looked a lot more kind of poised and mature. They're a senior heavy team. That's expected, I'd say. But yeah, I mean, the Monty or Newman hasn't faced a lot of these I guess senior heavy, really talented, tough teams like this a lot this year. So I mean, I think that's why we were so impressed by that first meeting where they essentially were leading Monty the entire time at Monty.
Not essentially, they were.
They were the entire game, and then before I think it was Ule scored that last bucket with like 2 seconds
Yep.
left or something.
Hmm.
That's when I think we were like, okay, yeah, this Newman team's legit. And yeah, I mean, I think that they're probably bound for a super deep run in the NCS too. So we're pretty spoiled, I'd say, this year with how good some of our boys basketball teams this year. And like you said too, Newman was not expected to be this good this year. So for them to kind of have this first year with this youth movement and being so talented, it's pretty awesome to see. So but yeah, great finish in the NBL Look boys race. I don't know, is there anything else that you wanted to kind of mention about that? Because that was all the points that I was looking at hitting, I think.
Yeah, no, no. Just kind of taking it back to your point about Newman hasn't really faced those senior heavy squads. No, I don't want to dive into it too much yet because we'll talk about it in a bit. But obviously, I mean, this experience, could help him through NCS, right? Where
For
where,
sure.
where there's going to be a lot of senior heavy laden teams and stuff like that. And I just want to say, you talk about the movement, man. I'm already chomping at the bit. I can't wait to see what these young Newman cats are going to be when they're like seniors, juniors, seniors, when they're completely like poised and matured and everything like that. So
Mhm.
that'll be exciting to watch. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, shoot, even I mean, last point of this, but even next year when
Yeah.
because like they like go through their roster, they have one or no, they have 2 seniors who play a little bit. Kai Shadon and Matt Zakiki. Both kind of role guys. So all of their main dudes are coming back next year. And like Tatum
Hmm.
Krupinski will be a senior next year. Diego's going to be a senior. Madi Kamaro's going to be a senior. So they're going to have like that really good core senior group along with a ton of upcoming young talent for the next couple of years. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very excited to get, see what this Newman team does going forward. So, but the other race that we also wanted to touch on, one of the smaller ones, the NCL one girls race. So Cloverdale, 22-4 on the year heading into the playoffs. They've won 12 games in a row. I know it's bad of us for this being, one of the first times that we're mentioning them, but their only loss in league came back on December 21st. They lost to Middletown by 8. They avenged that loss. What was that? 2 weeks ago, they beat Middletown by 22, and that kind of salvaged a split for the league title. And then going into the championship game, kind of a winner take all game essentially, for that home playoff spot, which for the smaller schools and the smaller divisions is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
And yeah, they went to Middletown and beat them by 7. So a huge huge end of the season here for Cloverdale, and watch out for them in I believe it's the NCS Division 5 girls race. They earned the number 5 seed, so they could have a tough draw in the second round against like a Cornerstone Christian or something. But for the smaller schools in D5, you only have to make it to the semis, to qualify for the NorCal playoff. So obviously, Cloverdale wants to go beyond a semifinal, in the NCS, but they only have to make it that far to kind of keep their season going, and I think they'll have a very good chance of doing that. So, shout out to the Cloverdale girls. I know that we haven't been able to give you guys much press and coverage and stuff this year, but congrats on a great finish. The league. I mean, 12 wins in a row is hard to do no matter who you are. So. They're heading into the playoffs hot.
Oh, totally, man, and it's so good to see these small schools like doing really well and kind of flourishing and things like that. And the Cloverdale girls, I mean, they're in the midst of a 2-year stretch where they've been pretty. I mean, they were really good last year as well.
Yeah, they were.
Them and the boys, so got some good hoopers up there in there up in Cloverdale for sure. And I wouldn't be surprised, if Cloverdale does go past that semifinal mark, go on a little run of their own, following the momentum of the league tournament championship, which I believe was like 57, 53, something like that. So it was pretty close.
Beat him
But
at Middletown too, which is never
yeah,
an easy place to play.
at Middletown too, but the girls they have, I mean, Tylee Hatcher has been one of the better players in the area for sure, and especially leading that Eagle squad. So, good on you, Cloverdale. Obviously, like Gus said, it's unfortunate that we waited this long to talk about you guys, but definitely not going to be the last time for sure.
Yep. Yeah. Definitely some more mention of them coming up, throughout the playoff run here. So, all right, quickly on to our final rankings of the regular season, and then we'll break down or we'll give you guys some of our takeaways from the playoffs. But I mean, no surprise here, but Montgomery is going to finish the regular season at number 1, Cardinal Newman number 2. Again, those have been our top 2 teams basically all year, and that's how it stays heading into the playoffs. Justin Siena number 3. The Braves again, clinched the VBAL title. Beat everybody, and then beat them again in the league championship. American Canyon finishes at number 4, Petaluma at number 5. Those teams were tied for 5th last week, but American Canyon beat Petaluma in the league tournament. Ukiah, which lost to St. Vincent, drops from 4 to 6, and then Piner is going to stick at number 6 heading into the postseason. So, and they'll actually be playing against Maria Carrillo in the first round of the NCSD 3 playoffs. So, battle of our kind of 2 like edge ranked teams there. So, we'll talk about that here in a bit.
Battle for the bubble.
Battle for the bubble. We'll talk about that here in a bit, because I was a little surprised, I guess, that Maria Carrillo was seated above Piner.
Me too.
But we'll kind of break into that here in a second. But girls rankings, no surprise, Cardinal Newman number 1, 24 straight wins. Like we said, 10 MBL titles in a row. I think it's 9 MBL tournaments in a row. I think the only one they didn't win was 2 years ago, when they didn't even have a tournament. Canceled for made up games and stuff, during that weird COVID stretch. I mean, I think they were ranked number 22 nationally last time I checked by SB Live. They're number 6 in the state. They just got the number 2 seed in the NCS Open Division playoffs. Like, I think we had said at the start of this year, this could be one of the best Newman teams in a while, and that's that has been the case. They've only gotten better as the season's gone on, and they're looking like a legit threat in the NCS Open this year. Number 2, Maria Carrillo. No shame in losing to Newman 3 times at all. Especially that first matchup that they had where it was a close game up until the end. Carrillo looks really good. They're the number 2 seed, I believe, in the NCST 3 playoffs. Montgomery finishes at number 3. They actually, sorry, hold on. I'm going to go back real quick to Carrillo, but we should also mention too, the big story last week was, Maria Carrillo head coach Jeff Paul passed away after his cancer or prostate cancer came back. He had been he had an in remission, I think, for what was it, 10 years, Keenan, and then it flared up again last year, and he was away from the team, battling with that, and unfortunately lost that battle. I think over 2 weekends ago. So. Very sad news for the Korea community, but you wrote the obit about it. You talked to a lot of people in the sphere who knew him. I didn't know him super well, only met him a couple times, but he's, just a really well-respected guy, great coach. Kids loved him. And yeah, it was definitely a hard week for the Korea community last week.
Well, not just the Korea community. I think girls basketball community as a whole, because he put his life and soul into it. Starting the North. Is it the NCA? I think the North Central Academy.
I think you're right, yeah.
So yeah, starting that, just giving girls an opportunity to play basketball. About a lot of the local gyms around the area. He hosted a lot of camps there and things like that. But yeah, just a little bit of a backstory. Gus kind of mentioned it a little bit, but yeah, so he was diagnosed, unfortunately, back in 2013 with prostate cancer. Kicked its butt so much that he ended up going into remission, and then not even a week before tryouts in October this year, it came back again. So he had to step back and had to step back and kind of battle it away from the court. But he was still watching practices, still watching games through the cameras and everything like that, helping the Kyle Leoden, who's the interim head coach, and the staff, just help him through different things and things like that. He was even able to show up to senior night, albeit in a wheelchair, unfortunately. So, rest in peace, Coach Paul, one of the nicest people I've personally ever met. Again, like Gus said, didn't talk to him too often, but he was just so gracious and kind, and yeah, Sonoma County lost a very impactful figure for sure.
Absolutely. So our hearts and thoughts go out to him and his family and everyone who knew him. So it was big loss for the Korea community. But I will say it's at this point now it's a bit of a play for Coach Paul here in the postseason thing. So
totally.
Yeah. Montgomery, rounding out our rankings here, we'll go with Montgomery here at number 3. They're staying put. Justin Stan at number 4. They're staying put. Sonoma Valley beat American Canyon in the league playoffs. They actually, and funny enough, they're going to be matching up as well in the second round of the NCST 3 playoffs. Both of them have first round buys. But Sonoma Valley finishes at number 5, American Canyon at number 6, and then Healdsburg, my Greyhounds, they're at number 7. What was that look? What was that smile? You're thinking of something.
No, it's just every time you say my Greyhounds.
My Greyhounds, man. Healdsburg's hot too. I think they've won 16 in a row or something like that heading into the playoffs. So watch out for them in D4. So anyway, all right, long enough to get here, but playoffs. Let's
lots of surprises. I think.
Yeah, so these came out Sunday. Of course, like an hour or so before the Super Bowl began. So didn't have a whole lot of time to like really digest them in the moment. But I think at this point we've kind of done our looked at these a bit more and kind of formulated some thoughts. But we'll start with the boys side here for basketball. But huge shout out to Montgomery. Getting the number 1 overall seed. They clinched that essentially, in that NBL Oak championship game, where they beat Newman. Those were kind of the two top ranked teams in D2 outside of Branson. Branson, of course, gets pulled up to the Open. So it's left between Montgomery and Newman. Monty gets the 1, Newman gets the 2. So unfortunately, there won't be a matchup or there won't be a 4th rematch unless these two teams meet in the championship games in 2 weeks, which would be epic. for lack of a better word. I've seen that there's some reporting done, I think by like the Mercury News and such, about host sites for the championship games. I think they're trying to find neutral sites.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't, I think they tried to check at St. Mary's. I don't think that was going to work. Anyway, but I know that the NCS is still looking, or is still trying to formulate some plans about where the championship game's going to be. So, anyway, we could get, there's a, while it wouldn't be until the finals, there is still I feel like a pretty decent chance that Montgomery and Newman could rematch in D2. Now that being said, D2 is a freaking gauntlet. D2 is always
100%.
tough. D2 is always tough, but there's some like legit sleepers, I'd say, on both sides of the bracket. So I'd say Montgomery's biggest challenge, I'd say, on their side is going to be Moreau Catholic, the 4 seed. They have some really, really good athletes. I mean, they're always a really well-coached program, but they've won 14 games in a row. They went undefeated throughout their league. Not the hardest of leagues, but they still play a really high caliber of competition. So, I mean, again, but with the way that that this Montgomery team has played, I mean, they've beaten some bigger, more athletic, maybe more talented teams too this year. But especially the way that they're playing, where Caden's hooping, they're playing really really stout defense. Their role players are stepping up. If we get the Montgomery team throughout the playoffs that we saw last week, I think that they have a very, very good chance to make it to a championship game here.
100%.
Which it's been a while since I think Monty has had a team make it this or make it that far. I'd have to go back and check, but it's been a while. A couple of other teams to mention, I'd say, in that D2 bracket, but Petaluma got a very rough draw. I believe before they lost to American Canyon in that semifinal game of D2 or of the VVAL tournament. I think they were ranked like 6 or 7, I want to say, in NCS D2. American Canyon was like 11 or 12. And I remember talking to Petaluma's head coach, Anton Lyons, I think after they lost to American Canyon last week. And he was saying, he's like, oh yeah, like, I think we'll probably still get like a 6, 7, maybe an 8. And like, maybe American Canyon will be like a 9 or a 10 or something. Well, not quite, not quite how it broke down. American Canyon jumped all the way to 7. They're the 7 seed, and Petaluma fell all the way to number 11. And they have a very tough draw. One of those sleeper teams that I didn't mention, but is Benicia. Petaluma gets the 11 seed Estral 2 and number 6 Benicia, and then first round game on Wednesday. That's gonna be a very tough game. And it's just tough for Petaluma because like they had so much promise at the start of this year. They have such a senior heavy group, and then after Andy Bai goes down, it's just kind of changed the vibe of this team a bit. They kind of have to play a grittier style, a really defensive, grinded out style, and it's just tough to see for a team that like really I felt had a lot of potential to be like a top 5 seed in the NCS for D2 this year and really make a good run. I mean, again, there's still a chance that they could win a couple of games here, but getting past Benicia is going to be really tough. So we'll see how that breaks down. But yeah, I mean, also American Canyon, we could have another cool local matchup here if American Canyon wins and gets to that second round game against a Newman.
That'd be pretty fun to watch.
There could, I mean, I've seen AmCam play a couple times. There could be some upset potential there, I gotta say. I mean, they have a lot of length. They have some good shooters. Yeah, I mean, if they have some guys who are playing well and their defense is locked in, who knows? Could be a good matchup over there. So something you wanted to add, yeah.
Yeah, well, I did say I want to take it back. You mentioned Moreau Catholic. Poor Ukiah has to play Moreau Catholic first round, and that is not a good draw at all for the NBL Redwood champions.
Well, and you might be saying, and you might be saying, how does Ukiah win win a league championship but they have to hit the road for their first round playoff game? Well, that's because Moreau Catholic also won a league championship and they're a higher seed. So that's how that works. If you get 2 league champions paired up in the first round, the higher seed, or I guess the lower seed always hosts. So yeah, Ukiah has a very tough draw there to open.
But the same thing happened last year to Ukiah. Ukiah got the NBL Redwood championship, but then they were a lower seed, and they also met actually they did host last year, but they still had the 11-12 seed or whatever it was,
Mhm.
despite being a champion. So the same thing, basically the same thing happened, but this year they have to go to Murrow Catholic facing another champion, I think. I don't know. Did Murrow
Yeah.
Catholic win their league? Yeah.
Yeah. They're
So
14-0. Yeah, they ran through kind of a harder league, so that'll probably do it for you.
yeah, totally, totally. I will say this though, Tamalpais can be very sneaky. Don't
Tamalpais too, for sure.
Tamalpais is a sneaky nine. The 8-9 matchup is a very fun matchup, I think, Northgate and Tam. But if Monty beats Bethel and Tam beats Northgate, that's a sleeper game for sure. So
Yeah, Monty
um,
Northgate, or yeah, Monty whoever in that second game would like could be another interesting like you never want to say a local team could get upset, but like yeah, I mean 8-9 for sure. I know that Montgomery head coach Steve Arrow was like, God, there's so many good teams in D2, and I think he mentioned Tamalpais and Northgate as two of those guys. So yeah, no easy games I'd say in the NCS D2 playoffs this year.
totally. Should we move on a little bit? We already talked about, yeah, Justin Siena. Let's head over to Justin Siena in D4. Gus, they have a bye first round. They got the number one seed.
Yeah, I think they have a very good chance to win D4 this year. Ignacio Valley is definitely going to be, I'd say, probably their toughest challenge. They have some big athletes. I think they go like 6'9", 6'10", I think, if they have a couple of guys. I think Montgomery beat them. I want to say relatively handily in the Bombauer tournament
Hmm.
back in December at Marin Catholic. But yeah, they're no joke. But yeah, I mean Justin Siena too have kind of been I mean, I think to go through the VVAL undefeated, there were some good teams this year in the VVAL, and
100% deep.
I don't think many people expected Justin, especially after like graduating, how much they did last year to kind of have this much success, I guess. One seed in D4, definitely impressive. I think that they have a very good chance to go pretty far. Arcata could be a tough game, but I think that I don't think that they should have much problem making it to the semis at least. And then same thing for D4. You make it to the semis of D4 and you're off to NorCal. So Justin I think has a very good chance to maybe win D4 and maybe get bumped up a couple divisions, I'd say, for NorCal's, because they've been playing really well. Yeah,
Yeah,
go
yeah.
go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off. Yeah, if you think about it though, so if everything goes according to plan, by typical bracket sense, whatever it is, watch out for Urban and that three spot.
Yeah,
You've seen Urban play this year up at the SoCo Classic, I believe, or was
that
it the
was the
SoCo?
that
No,
was
no,
the
no.
Callan over at
The
Casa.
the
Yeah,
Callan, excuse me, yeah, the Callan. You've seen Urban play this year, so if all goes according to plan, Ignacio Valley plays Urban. Possibly in that semifinal they could cancel each other out. That one would be a good one as
that'd be
well.
a really good one too. Yeah,
Um, just mentioning another local team in there, obviously LC Allen, making their first playoff NCS playoff in a while.
I'd have to
I
go back and
think.
check, but yeah,
They play Urban first round, so tough draw there for the Lobos. But um, yeah, so yeah, but Justin Siena right now looks like the favorite. They've been so successful these last couple of years. Winning state not a few years back, um, things like that. So uh, yeah, definitely some good talent there in Division 4. Let's head over to Division 5, where this could be interesting as well. Head Royce gets the one seed. Head Royce always very good. St. Helena, Sonoma Academy in that 8-9 spot, two local teams. I'll actually be there on coverage tonight. St. Vincent gets the 4 seed. They host San Francisco Waldorf tonight as well. Cloverdale heads down to number 2 Stuart Hall. My Knights, by the way, we always talk about Gus's Greyhounds, but when my Knights come up, we gotta put them in there. They get the 2 seed at Division 5. Um, so yeah, a lot of good local representation there in Division 5, Gus.
yeah. I'm looking a little bit ahead to the St. Vincent possible second round game. So if they can get past or if they get past SF Waldorf, and so again we're recording this on Tuesday. There are going to be a bunch of games happening today and on Wednesday. So this might be a bit old when it comes out, but The St. Vin or the very possible second round matchup of St. Vincent and San Domenico. Man, I do wonder if St. Vincent was kind of was looking at the bracket being like, man, I hope we don't get San Domenico in the second round, because San Domenico, like, they're only 15-10, but they've played the hardest schedule in NCSD 5. I mean, they've played Stuart Hall, I believe, twice. Yeah, because they're in the Bay Counties West League, so they
Yep.
played, same league as Stuart Hall, same league as Urban, same league as University. I mean, University, I think, is the number one seed in in D3, I want to say. Like, so they play a brutally hard schedule, and went 5-5 in that really tough league. So I'd say if there's ever a kind of a battle-tested sleeper team, it might be San Domenico. So that second round game, if it does happen between St. Vincent and San Domenico, it should be really intense and really good. So that should be a game that we should try to go check out and cover if it does happen. So, but
100%.
same kind of thing too. It's like St. Vincent, last year of Tom Von Feely, they're having their best year in years. I think they're 25-3 right now. They just beat, Ukiah by like 15, I want to say, over the weekend. They're playing great right now. So if there's ever a team that could make a run, it would be St. Vincent. So we'll see how they fare. But I think that about wraps it up for our boys' takeaways real quick. Anything else that you wanted to mention, Keenan, before we hop over to the girls?
No, let's head right over to the girls. Obviously, no, first thing right off the bat, Cardinal Newman's girls ends up getting the 2 seed in the NCS Open division. A lot of back and forth as to whether they could get the 1 seed, or they would stay at the 2 seed. Obviously, they have possibly the three best wins out of any NCS team in the Open. They have Folsom. They beat Folsom. In that huge comeback win back earlier on, and they beat Acalanes pretty handily. They beat Brentwood pretty handily.
Yeah.
So there was that back and forth whether they were going to get that top seed, but the head-to-head loss early on in the season at their own tournament against Sacred Heart Cathedral kind of hurt him a little bit, because San Ramon Valley ended up beating Sacred Heart Cathedral pretty handily. So San Ramon Valley gets the top seed there, but would not be surprised if Newman takes that open bracket, with who they have on their team. But you know, San Ramon Valley is as tough as it gets
Yeah.
as well. But don't discredit any of the other teams in the Open. The Open is just an absolute
Open's
gauntlet.
always really good. Open's always really good. But yeah, I mean, it is crazy because it's like, I think I don't think it would be a stretch to say that Newman's the favorite as the TC to win this,
Yeah,
to win
exactly.
this bracket. Honestly, I mean, like, the addition of Tissa Kuraz has just, been, kind of just elevated them to a whole other level. So, again, being an open division just selected team, you automatically get a bid to NorCal. So Newman will be playing on, and no matter what happens, these next couple weeks. But I think now it's a question of, I think last year they were they made the Division One NorCal playoffs. If they win NCS Open, there's a very good chance. I mean, again, they will be going to the Open Division for the NorCal playoffs too, and there awaits Mitty and probably St. Mary's, another rematch from the Sac Joaquin. So, yeah, so we'll see kind of how these next couple weeks break out, but. Yeah, Newman doesn't play though, and with the first round bye, the first round technically starts on Thursday, but they wouldn't play, their first game until next week. So February
Right.
21st would be their semifinal second round game against the winner of Carondelet and Piedmont, the 3 and 6 seeds. So we'll see how that kind of breaks out. But yeah, San Ramon Valley, like you mentioned, kind of sealed that top spot. I think they beat Sacred Heart Cathedral by like 20 or 30 at some point this year, and Sacred Heart beat Newman by 1 in there, in the Newman Classic in December. So, yeah, but yeah, I mean, that potential, championship game there between San Ramon Valley and Newman, is going to be electric too. So that should be a really fun one to
That's going to be
to
crazy.
follow and keep an eye on. So, yeah, Newman though gets a week off, which is kind of nice. I mean, I wonder if there's a rest versus rust debate, at this point where you're playing so many games throughout the week, and all of a sudden it's
Yeah.
like you have 10 days off, and you're just like, what do we do with ourselves here? So, so yeah, they have some time, time to kill before the next game, but. They're also not the only team, I'd say, with a very, very good chance to make a deep run in the playoffs. We have like 2 or 3 really high seeds in D2, D3, D4. Division 2, number 2 seed goes to Montgomery. They're going to be hosting Windsor on Wednesday in the first round, 2:15 matchup. Montgomery, again, we've kind of raved about them this year. You've seen them play a couple times. Your favorite trio in the county.
The trio, baby. I
all
love
this
it.
all this good stuff. So yeah, I mean they earned the 2 seed, for sure. Number 1 seed in that bracket is Redwood on the other side. So yeah, I mean Montgomery, I again I'd have to go back and check, but I can't recall the last time that they've been this high of a seed for the playoffs, and had this good of a chance to make a deep run. So we'll see how that goes down. But yeah, I mean they're in a great spot. I'd say the Vikings are to make a deep run here, just like the boys.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's pretty funny how they open it up with a local matchup, 215,
I know.
215 against Windsor. Uh, I just think it's funny. It kind of reminds me of I think it was last year. Was it last year where Windsor Newman boys, met up in the second round in that local matchup? Just the bracket gods just
Yeah.
doing their thing.
Well, that was the
Um,
NCS looking at seeing that matchup and just being like, oh man, that's going to be a great gate fair for us.
Salivating, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But Casa Grande gets the 8 seed. That they have a tough go against San Marin, and then if they win, they take on Redwood, who's actually playing Santa Rosa. Santa Rosa girls picking it up towards the end there, able to get in the NCS playoffs, and unfortunately their draw is the top seed,
Yeah.
Redwood. Um, Rancho Cotati down at the 14 seed. They have to play Miramani, who's a 3 seed. So some tough draws there. I mean, Division Two is pretty. I would say not as. I don't think they're as good of as good of teams in Division Two as there was last year. But still,
Yeah.
nonetheless, a very very tough draw. But Montgomery, if they take care of business, I know they've been a little banged up for the last couple weeks, sicknesses, injuries, stuff like that. But they could very well have a chance to make it to NorCal's, or and
Yeah.
even further. You never know.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I'm looking at last year's championship, and it was a Bishop O'Dowd versus Moreau Catholic, and I think O'Dowd is up in the Open this year. I think Moreau Catholic might have also gone up to Division One, or Division Two, or yeah, Division One. Hold on, yeah, this is good podcasting. We're doing this doing this on the fly here, but um, yeah, I mean, I think that's probably why I guess the bracket might not be as top heavy, is because some of those top teams are just not in the bracket anymore.
Hmm.
So, oh wait, no, I don't think Moreau Catholic even made the playoffs. Now that I'm looking at it. Anyway, this is great podcasting here. So as we're doing we're doing research on the fly. Oh, I know they're the 4 seed over there. So, anyway, just I'm an idiot. So, this is the 4. Montgomery's the 2, yeah. Okay, yeah. So I mean, anyway, so Dowd, last year's winner, up and open this year, definitely kind of opens the bracket up a little bit. And yeah, Montgomery probably has a good chance to make a good run here. Just like Maria Carrillo does over in the Division 3 bracket. So we have 3 top 5 seeds here. Carrillo gets the 2. Sonoma Valley gets the 4. American Canyon gets the 5. All 3 of those teams also have first round buys. So the
Crazy.
Division 3 bracket is a little funky. There's only 11 teams in it. And that's just because that Piedmont and Cardinal Newman, who are both in D3, both of them got pulled up to open. So there's 2 fewer teams to go from, and then I guess there just literally weren't enough teams that had the minimum playoff requirements to even make it as at large bid. So yeah, we only have 11 teams this year in the D3 bracket. So, but yeah, I mean, all 3 of our local teams kind of benefit from that. Yeah, they all advance the second round no matter what. So, but yeah, Carrillo has been, I mean, again, like we've seen, they swept Monty during league play. They played probably the hardest schedule,
Yes.
in the area. I mean, again, playing Newman twice already. I mean, that's a top 10 team in the state. They played Carondelet. They played, who else they play? Clovis West, who's like number 11 in the state or something. So they've played a brutally hard schedule.
And
And
still going 18-9 with
still
that
going
schedule
18 and
too.
9, right? And I think most of those losses, I'd say, were to kind of those top caliber teams. So Carrillo is as battle tested as they come, and I think has a very, very good chance to make it. I mean, I'm just going to call my shot right now. I think Carrillo makes it easily to the championship game here. Here for D3. I don't see them. I mean, maybe against Eureka there in the semis could be maybe their only tough game, but outside of that, I don't really see them being challenged a whole lot up until that championship game against Marin Catholic. And Marin Catholic is quite good too. So
Yes, 100%.
But I'm gonna call my shot now. Marin Catholic Carrillo in that championship game for D3.
Yeah, I would say that's a fair shout for sure. You know, the way the NCS sees some of these things, it's like you never really know what it's going to be like because Korea definitely had a shout for that top seed. People were thinking about maybe Eureka gets a top two seed, but Eureka's strength of schedule is like an 11. Korea's was like upper 20s, stuff like that. So, um, yeah, it's yeah, I think that's a good shout. I mean, the one win and they make it to NorCal's, I'm pretty sure.
No,
Regardless.
D3. No, for it's so D1, 2, and 3, you have to make the finals.
Oh,
And
have
then
to
it's
make the
also
finals. Okay.
well, and then it's also, I guess, it's also the highest seeds remaining that didn't make it to the championship game. So Korea, if they make it to the semis, I'd say that they still should have a very good chance to make it in. Um,
Yeah.
if like if the number one and two teams in D1 and D2 also both make it to the championship games there. So
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, I mean that's a fair shout. We'll kind of see how it shakes out, who they face, either Encino or Alhambra. But Sonoma Valley American Canyon, another rematch, right up there.
this
Winner most likely.
fourth game this year.
It's our Windsor Newman this year, dude.
Hmm.
Let me see. Yeah, they most likely will face the top seed Marine Catholic in the semis. Winner of that, Sonoma Valley. Beating Justin Siena late in the season. Kind of pulling it together. But we all know how crazy the VVAL is. So anything can happen in this one. But yeah, I from the bottom side of the bracket, I think I agree with you. I think Marine Korea makes it to the final. And Sonoma Valley or Macon Canyon, whoever wins, will probably have to play some lights out basketball to make the final as well, I think.
Yep. Yep. Next couple teams we'll break down here, but and actually, as I'm going through this now a little more closely, so Open Division Cardinal Newman's D2, Division 2 Montgomery is D2, Division 3 Maria Carrillo is D2, Division 4 Justin Siena is number 3, Division 5 I believe Cloverdale is number 4. Let me just double check that real quick. Cloverdale's number 5, sorry. So but then over in D6 we have Rio Lindo Adventist as number 2. So that's open 2, 3, 4, and 6. So five, like out of the five of the 7 divisions, we have a top 3 seed in there, which is pretty cool to see on the girls' side. But yeah, Division 4, I guess just real quick. Justin Siena is the division. I have all these brackets pulled up.
3.
They're the number 3 seed, hosting Lower Lake. And there could be a fun matchup there between Justin and Healdsburg in the second round game. That could be a fun one to go cover. But yeah, I mean St. Patrick, St. Vincent, number 1 seed, University number 2. Those guys I'd say are probably the favorites. Just kind of based on their resumes and yeah, just kind of where they sit. So,
Yeah.
but again, Division 4, Division 5, Division 6, all you gotta do is make it to the semis and you advance off to NorCal. So I think Justin should have a good chance doing that. We mentioned Cloverdale girls a bit at the top, but yeah, number 5 seed over in Division 5, and again, could be a tough matchup in the second round game against Cornerstone Christian if it happens. Just always hard to go down to the Bay Area for for these North Bay teams, especially the farther North Bay teams like Cloverdale. Just good competition down there. Hard place to play. But yeah, we'll see. Cloverdale girls, I think have a good chance of making a D5 run. And I know we don't talk much about Division 6, but yeah, Rio Lindo Adventist Academy. For those of you wondering, that is in Healdsburg. Very small, boarding school essentially. They play against, again, a bunch of other smaller Adventist schools in the area, like Pacific Union College, Prep, Napa Christian, schools like that. Or no, Napa Christian's in a different league. Too many small leagues. Too many small leagues to keep track of around
I
here.
know.
It's kind of crazy, but they're 18-4, and yeah, first round bye for them. So we'll kind of again don't know a whole lot about them, but just kind of cool to see all of these local teams having success at this point of the year. So take a breath now, Keenan. That was a lot. Anything else that we should mention about basketball before we head on and transition over into soccer?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I just want to mention, the team Cloverdale is playing for us around Sonoma Academy, another one of our champions.
Yes.
6-0, obviously. 12 seed, maybe a little underseeded, but I mean, I think there's only like 4 teams in that NCL2 league, so
Yeah.
a little bit tough, but a good local matchup to kick things off. But anyways, like you said, let's head into soccer here, Gus. Let's kind of start with our champions. NBL Oak boys, Cardinal Newman. NBL Oak girls, Cardinal Newman. This is the first time I believe in school history, if you count the shared title with Newman and Monty in basketball, where Newman has kind of swept all four
Yeah.
all four sports in terms of champions. Um, so soccer, they get it, both boys and girls. I know the boys kind of came down to the wire. The girls have been, NorCal finalists last year. They just haven't skipped a beat at all. Um, NBL Redwood boys, Annalie, Gus, you were following that race pretty closely. We'll talk about that in a second. NBL Redwood girls, Ukiah was just perfect on the year, and then the Vival boys, Vival girls, both Casa Grande. We'll talk about those in a second as well. With our best finishes, Gus. Um, so let's start with the Vival. Why not? On both boys and girls side, both Casa teams beat Vintage to win it. Um, with our best finishes, Gus. Okay, so obviously let's just start with the VVAL. Casa boys, Casa girls, both beating Vintage to win their titles respectively. So yeah, Casa boys swept Vintage. You were at that crazy game at the end.
Oh
That
my God, that was
Jose
nuts.
Chavez, one of the best players in the area. 2 goals in the second half to win 3-2 and win the league outright, their first outright league title in a while, I want to say. Um,
It was their first one. I mean, so I didn't have like we didn't have it off the top of our heads. Neither me or Jordan Schlau, their head coach, but it was I think since like the '90s was the last time that they won a league title outright. They shared the Vival title, I want to say 2 years ago with Vintage.
mhm.
And that was the only time that Vintage hasn't been a game. It's so 2 years ago, and then also this year are the only 2 years since the Viva was created in 2018 that Viva has not just outright won the league, the league championship. So Vintage has kind of
Yeah.
been the dominant team in that league for most of its existence, and then Casa this year had a really strong senior group. They kind of overcame some adversity at the start of the year. They had those players suspended for a while. A weird ruling violating some rules about playing in tournaments and stuff, early on. But yeah, they've come back as strong as ever. I mean, 10-0-2 in league. The game against Vintage was one of the best games I've ever seen. They were down 2-0 at halftime. Vintage scored twice just before the half, and it's like real danger zone, for Casa at Casa. I think, they had beaten Vintage earlier in the season too, a close game there. And if they hadn't won, I think it would have left the door open for someone else to kind of sneak in there and win it. But yeah, Jose Chavez, or yeah, is it Jose Chavez or Jose Sanchez? Jose Chavez,
No,
right?
Jose Chavez. They call him Cello.
Cello, that's right. There you go. 2 goals within like 5 minutes of each other. Just a really awesome performance from him as a senior going out. First time Vintage has ever been swept in Viva history too, which is crazy to say. But yeah, Casa, really really exciting finish to that league race there. And then same thing with the girls too. I mean, the girls won it last year too, I believe.
Yeah,
And
they
they
did.
went off to win the NCS Division II title. But yeah, I think you were there at that one, Keenan. That was a couple weeks ago, where they wrapped it up. It's same thing against Vintage. That was a 2-0 win for them.
Yeah, yeah. So they ended up losing to Vintage 2-1 at Vintage earlier in the season, and that they needed it, and Tuesday just all business. 2-0. Emmy Gotchell, I think is how you pronounce her last name. She got the first goal, and then Lauren Raposa, one of the best midfielders in the area, Miss Do It All. Um, Do It All midfielder just fires one from long range, and it ends up going in. So Casa, absolutely no doubt on that side. And for Petaluma or for Casa, I mean, to sweep both soccer titles is a big deal, for
Yeah.
sure. Absolutely. But yeah, so props to both Casa teams. We'll talk about their playoff fates in a minute. But another big race we wanted to talk about, Gus. I know you went to this head-to-head matchup, but obviously
The
Annalee
first one, yeah.
yeah, the first one, Annalee going undefeated in league, plus Ukiah slip up against Elsie sees the Tigers win the NBL Redwood boys title.
Yeah, Ukiah was kind of the heavy favorites. I mean, maybe not heavy, but they were kind of the big favorites, I'd say, coming into the league race. You know, they beat Cardinal Newman in non-league
Mhm.
play, which was I think one of the only losses that Newman has this year. And yeah, both of them were undefeated in league play going into their first meeting at Annalee. Annalee won that game. I believe it was 2-1, 3-1. What was it? 2-0, I think it was. Yeah, 2-0 was the final there. And then yeah, Annalee has just never lost since then. um they only have one loss on the year, and that was a non-league game against Piner on December 21st. But since then, I mean, again, like you said, swept through the NBL Redwood 6-0-2, and both of those ties were to close out the season. 2-2 tie to Healdsburg and a 2-2 tie to Ukiah. But yeah, I'd say the big result there was Ukiah slipping up against LCN, losing 1-0. And yeah, essentially making it kind of with like 2 or 3 games left, it was like, Ukiah needed Annalee to lose both, and Ukiah had to win both, and that wasn't how it kind of shook out. But really impressive from Annalee here to pull this off, because I think Ukiah was going for its third straight, I want to say, league title or something like that, and they were
Yeah.
veteran group, and I know that that their head coach Shane Huff is really excited about this kind of senior heavy or senior heavy group, and he's been kind of building this program for a couple years, and this year was kind of one of the first years that they really started to see a lot of that work and development start to pay off. And so yeah, I mean, really impressive though for Annalee to kind of come in and steal this title, because they're super talented as well, but I think everyone thought that Ukiah was going to be the heavy favorites this year. So either way, both teams also got some pretty good seedings here for the playoffs. And yeah, were there any other league races that you wanted to touch on, Keenan, before we hit some of our playoff takeaways here for soccer?
No, not really. No, I think we want hit the ones on the head. Let's go with our playoff takeaways. Um, I'm gonna start with the girls on this one, Gus. Not the guys, but Casa gets the top seed in D2. Maria Carrillo is actually moved up to Division 1 this year, and whew,
Yeah.
they have a tough bracket ahead of them. They take on number 2 Corondale, um, which I mean, I'm gonna say don't. I mean, because Carrillo's record doesn't really show who they really are, because they had a lot of draws in league. They were the queen of the league draws, but
Eight
they are
draws
still
this year, which is crazy.
yeah, but they are a very very good team, and they've played a tough schedule regardless. They played Archbishop Midi. They went down to the big tournament. I forget what it's called, but Midi, Saint Ignatius. They played all these teams, so wouldn't be surprised at all if Maria Carrillo gives Coronel a good fight, and this could be maybe a one goal game, or Carrillo could even take it. You don't even know. Soccer is such a wild sport. But yeah, so Division 1, Maria Carrillo is just got have a tough go about it. But Casa girls, on the other hand, moving over to the Gauntlet, that's Division 2. We got a bunch of local teams in here. Casa Grande gets the 1 seed. They shouldn't have any problem against Antioch, the 16 seed. Acalanes, Benicia, that could be a tough matchup. Whoever wins that heading into the second round. Montgomery, the 13 seed, takes on TAM. Tough matchup there for Montgomery. And then also, let's see, Branson, who I was at the Casa Branson game
Branson's
this
very
year.
good.
Branson gets the 3 seed this year, and they take on Livermore. And Branson could be a very very tough second round opponent for Ukiah, the NBL Redwood champion, who plays Northgate in the first round. So that could be a very tough second round matchup there for Ukiah. Keep in mind, Branson upset a lot of people last year and went to the NCS finals in D3, where they played Marin Academy. So they're up in D2 this year. Um, yeah, I mean, it's just tough, no easy game all around at all. Um, Newman is moving on to Division Three. Sorry, guys. Newman moving on to Division Three. Newman is the 2 seed. Again, they made the NorCal finals last year in Division Three, where they lost on penalties in the NorCal finals. I expect them to probably go to the NCS finals again and possibly win it. They are the 2 seed though. Number one is Miramonte. Um, but yeah, Cardinal Newman has a great chance. I know Piner's also in this. They play number 3 Marin Academy. Petaluma's got a favorable draw against number 13 Kennedy. Petaluma's the 14 seed there. Or no, Petaluma's the 4 seed, excuse me. Gosh, I'm getting all these numbers mixed up. So yeah, definitely some possible NCS finalists here. And then also another thing I wanted to talk about before I hand it over to you for the girls is Sonoma Academy. Watch out for them over there in Division Four. I know they got I'm pretty sure they got the 4 seed, but they've played some tough matchups this year. They
Yep.
played in their non-league slate. They played pretty much everybody around the area. They played Branson, Cardinal Newman, either I think it was Casa or Marie Creo, one of the two. But their resumes up there with the best of them. So I wouldn't be surprised if they make at least the semifinals in Division Four. But pretty favorable draws here and there, but also soccer is one of the things where you have no idea how it's going to pan out.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I believe the NCS gets 10 NorCal bids, so I want to say that's the four. So it's the 4 champions, 4
Yep.
runners up, and then I believe it's probably the 2 highest seeds that don't make it to the or yeah, I mean that get eliminated before the play or before the
Yeah, yeah.
final. So yeah, I mean again, it's like for some of these top seeds, it's like getting that top seed is huge. Because like if you do, maybe get upset in the semifinals or the quarterfinals, or something, there's still a chance that you actually do, advance and move on, to NorCal. So, just big getting those draws. Excuse me. Quick thing I wanted to mention about Korea and Carondelet real quick is that I was looking at just like the broader NCS rankings, without the divisions, just straight NCS rankings, and this is a situation where this bracket would play out so much differently next year when we get the competitive equity model coming
Yeah.
in. So based on the Max Preps rankings, which is what the NCS is going to use come playoff seedings time next year, Carondelet would be like in the open division / Division 1, like as a 3 or a 4 seed or something. Maria Carrillo is ranked like 26th, I want to say, in the entire NCS. So they would probably be in like Division 2 as like a higher seed or like a mid seed in Division 2 or something. So it is pretty crazy just how much the playoff brackets are going to change next year, just kind of with this new model coming in. But that was just one thing that I saw that I wanted to point out. But quick thing though, so yeah, on the boys then real quick, I guess we'll just kind of move on right over to here. But yeah, Newman I'd say is probably one of in the position I'd say probably to go the furthest. I mean, they've been one of the best teams in the NCS like all year, and just because of their size and kind of they've been a good team the last couple of years, but I mean last year I think they got upset right in the quarterfinals of NCS like by
Yep.
Piedmont, although granted Piedmont did go on to win the section championship that year as the 8 seed. So, so again, maybe not the worst loss ever, but like, Newman's still in D4, number 1 seed. I don't see a whole lot of challenges for them, up until the championship game, where if it is University, that was a team that I believe they played to a tie early on in the year. Or was it the girls team I'm thinking of? Who am I thinking of? Good podcasting. Yeah, no, actually, shoot, they beat University 4-1. So, I mean, that's the number 2 seed in your bracket, and you beat them 4-1 early in the season. Like, I mean, I think if that says anything, is that Newman has a very good chance to make a very deep run this year in D4.
Quick little nugget about last year. I don't know if you remember, but Piedmont upset Newman and then played your Greyhounds in the semifinals and upset Healdsburg. And Healdsburg could have won that game. I was at that game too. That was crazy. So yeah, but just goes back to my point. Anything goes in soccer. So, but yeah. Anyway, sorry. Keep going.
I guess we'll kind of go in reverse order a bit here, but Division Three, we actually have quite a few pretty well-seeded teams here. I mean, Ukiah in there at the 4, Annalee in there at the 3, Sonoma Valley in there at the 6. That could be a really fun second round matchup. An Annalee Sonoma Valley matchup in the second round could be super fun. One of the better teams in the VVAL versus one of the better teams from the NBL. And then yeah, I mean it's going to be, I think, pretty tough for Piner to upset Acalanes in that 12-5 matchup. But if they do, we'd get another fun matchup there in Piner Ukiah. So I think it will be. I wouldn't be shocked if we see one of these three teams in Annalee, Sonoma, or Ukiah make it to a semis. I mean, again, we've seen all three of these teams play this year, and I mean, Sonoma Valley might have the best team and or the best player in the county this year, and in Griffin, is it Griffin Brophy?
Yeah, Griffin Brophy. Griffin Brophy. I want to say I'm a little curious about this because I know the NCS when they do these seedings loves the head-to-head matchup and the head-to-head, this and that stuff. I'm really interested of the rationale as to why they put Ukiah over Sonoma Valley, because Sonoma Valley has a 4-0 win over Ukiah earlier this year. So I just wanted to, it's one of those things that just gets you a little curious. Taking nothing away from Ukiah, right? Obviously, they have a great team and they beat Cardinal Newman and stuff like that. But Sonoma Valley's played some of these teams really tough. So I'm a little interested to. This is one of those things where I would love to see the rationale about. But regardless, we're here. I think there are favorable draws for a lot of teams.
Yeah.
And sorry to cut you off a little bit.
One thing that I did hear, I think, about that Sonoma Valley game is because so I think there was a lot of again, the big story I think earlier this year was the Casa Grande, the players getting suspended for playing in the club tournament. I think Sonoma Valley had a few players, same thing happened to them. I think they had like a number of players who also got suspended for a number of games, but I don't think it was really publicized or the coaches put anything out there. But I think that was a big reason, I think, for that 4-0 loss, was because they were missing, I think, most of their better players. So maybe that factored into it.
Who? Wait, well, 4-0. No, they beat Ukiah 4-0.
Oh wait, Sonoma beat Ukiah 4-0. Oh wait, that was the first game that they had all those players back. That's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but still, I think you are right though. I don't know how you beat a team 4-0 and then they're seated 2 spots higher than you in the playoffs. It is kind of weird.
Well, it's just around like we were talking about this. I think it was last week or a couple pods ago. How we would love to be like a fly on the wall and see what really goes on in these things. But regardless,
I mean, they did also, I guess, credit to Ukiah. They also beat, Newman 2-0. I mean, I think they're the only team, one of only 2 teams to beat Ukiah or to beat Newman, this year. So maybe that win over Newman outweighs that loss to Sonoma Valley, maybe.
Yeah, totally. I think a lot of teams and a lot of area teams, I think they have a great chance to at least make the semifinals and or finals. You never know. I do think going along with the Sonoma Valley thing, I do think some of the other VVAL teams were a little underseeded, like Casa number 7. I know D2 is pretty tough.
Pretty loaded, yeah.
Pretty loaded, but I mean Casa Grande over, Marie Curie over Casa Grande, Windsor over Casa Grande. Well, I don't know. I mean, Casa Grande, as a 7, and then having to potentially play the 2 seed Las Lomas, not the greatest draw for them, but yeah, I mean, but this is why we play, right? For this kind of stuff, for these kinds of upsets. Hey, how about real quick? How about Rosen University Prep getting the 5 seed in Division 4, huh? How about RUP, man? There's something in the water up there at RUP. Going from football now to soccer, their sports are coming along quite nicely in the last couple of years for sure.
They've always been. I mean, they've always had a real like a pretty competitive soccer program. I believe. I don't know if they've always played in the fall season like they have, or the winter season like they have this year. I think they've mostly primarily been maybe not, because we don't
keep in mind this is the second year of this new winter season. It was so yeah.
But RUP played in the NBL Redwood, I want to say, a couple years ago too.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
They
Okay,
kind
yeah,
of they kind
yeah,
of jump between leagues a little bit here. Yeah, I mean, I think, but you are right though. This is the second year of this. Like the NCL one has a couple teams that, or the NCL has a couple teams that play winter soccer versus most of them play in the fall, just because they don't have the facilities to. It just rains a whole lot and it's a lot of grass fields and it's just not good conditions. So a lot of these teams play in the fall. RUP is one of those schools that plays in the wintertime. But going through their resume, they have some pretty impressive games here. I mean, 0-0 tie to Carrillo, who's, again, one of the better teams. 0-0 tie to Casa, one of the better teams. 1-0 win over Sonoma. Again, a team that we're kind of raving about over here. And their league is not super tough. I mean, again, it's some of these smaller school leagues.
yeah.
They played St. Helena, Kelseyville, Cloverdale, beat them all. I mean, the closest game was 6-1. So that kind of tells you, the competition level in their league. But they scheduled hard in non-league and are rewarded for it now, with the good playoff seating. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, again, I almost, it is one of these things where it's like, you don't play very many competitive teams during league and it's like, how much does that, kind of impact you going forward? But, they have that experience, against some better competition in non-league. So who knows? That could definitely, pay dividends here going forward in the playoffs. Quickly, though, let's go over to D2. I think you had already mentioned Casa Grande getting in there as the 7th seed. Yeah, but we also should mention Windsor having a great season. They get the 4 seed. Maria Correa gets the 5 seed. Very possible another good local matchup in there as well in the second round, potentially. I think this is Windsor's second year, I want to say, under Josh Sterling, his first or second year, I want to say.
Hmm.
I think it's his first year, actually. Yeah, second or first. Great podcasting again by me here, but 11 wins, the most they've had, I think since like 2019-20, going back. Young team. I know that they've had some injury issues too this year, but again, they played very well. I'd say in league play despite being a bit underhanded, and yeah, I mean a good draw for them. And yeah, that would be a very fun second round matchup. With Windsor and Carrillo. I think they split. Just going through this real quick in the regular season. They won. Windsor won 1-0 in the second meeting, and they tied 0-0 in the first meeting. So
Hmm.
round 3 potentially in the quarterfinals there. So
One one more thing, just going up to D1 real fast. We got two teams up in D1, Vintage and Montgomery. Montgomery gets that 11 seed, Vintage gets 13. Tough, such a tough gauntlet up there in Division 1, man. It's so crazy. It's the cream of the crop
yeah,
up there. So tough draws for Montgomery and Vintage, but obviously it would be great to see them pull off an upset or two in D1. So
yep.
lots of local soccer teams this year, Gus, which is great.
Always good to see. Yeah, I mean, another example of where the new playoff model might benefit Montgomery a lot is that, they were ranked number 15 in the NCS, overall in soccer, which would have put them probably at like a lower tier end of a as a Division 2 team. Whereas, Cardinal Newman, who's playing in D4, literally could have gotten pulled up to open or
Hmm.
Division 1 next year, which is nuts.
Yeah.
But again, I think, Newman is good enough, I think, to play with a lot of those teams. So it would be really kind of cool to see them do that. But yeah, I mean, some good draws, some bad draws. Again, there's always winners and losers, in these playoff brackets. But I think, again, we're it's February 13th. We're first day of playoffs starts today, and I think that there's a very good chance that we have some teams that are playing at least 2-3 weeks here deep. Maybe into maybe even like kind of deep into March as well. So for state playoffs.
Hmm.
So it will be a very fun time. I'm very excited. This is always such a fun time of year. Yeah, and I think we're gonna have some good runs through the playoffs to cover for you guys. But quickly though, Keenan, we'll toss it over to you for our last segment here, talking about wrestling playoffs, NCS championships taking place this Friday, Saturday at James Logan High School. First round, obviously on Fridays. Championship games or championship matches will be on Saturday. Yeah, tickets to the wrestlers are looking to punch their tickets to the state championships happening the following weekend down in Fresno. Is that right? Fresno? There's a Clovis?
Bakersfield.
Bakersfield. There you go. Close enough. It's all the same. We don't have any bigger
Um,
people watching, so that's good. But
yeah.
yes. Anyway, throwing it over to you. Wrestling has been awesome the last couple weeks. We have some really, really talented boys wrestlers, some very talented girls wrestlers, a lot of kids who could be, in line for NCS championships and state berths and maybe even state titles. It's been a while since we've had had one around here, but a couple kids who are making who are looking to make a name for themselves this playoff. So give us the lowdown, Keenan. What's happening in wrestling?
Obviously, I would love to see as a state champion, but
It's so hard though. It's
but
so hard
I
in
would say
wrestling.
state placer would be more realistic because we haven't had a state placer in a while. I don't think,
It's
unless
been a
Joe
while.
Ellis did it last year from Vintage. I can't remember. But anyways, New Year and boy, look. Let me just preface this by this for context wise for the viewers watching at home. So the way it works is um, each year, each section is allowed a certain number of entries into the state tournament, both on the boys and girls side. Um, Unfortunately, the North Coast section hasn't been performing well enough at state for them to keep the number that they had last year, which was three. So now, for the boys side, only the top two in each weight class, which is basically the first and second place in the weight class, will head on to state. Last year it was three. This year it's two. Not happy about. I'm personally not happy
It's
about it
brutal.
because I think individually we're a lot better than we were last year. Um, but on the girl side, I believe it's still the top three
I think
or
it's top
four,
three.
one of the two.
Yeah.
So anyways, let's just go through it quickly because the seeds for sectionals are already coming out, already out for this upcoming weekend. The boys will be held at James Logan High School, like Gus said. The girls will be held at Albany High School, both the 16th and the 17th, so Friday, Saturday. Um, let's just go through it real quick. For the guys, 106 or the 108-pound class, keep in mind that you can have the 2-8 buffer. Antonio Garaventa from Windsor, one of the oh, he's so fun to watch. He gets the number 4 seed at 108. So he's up there. 115. You have, let me see here. You got so many guys. William Harvey, who's the NBL champion at 115, he gets the number 17 in a absolutely stacked 115 class there. 122, Eric McDonald, one of the best stories of I think of all time. Obviously, unfortunately lost his leg in a car crash, came back, played football last year, and wrestled. I think he's probably the most. I'll give him the most. I'll give him the MIP award, Gus, the most improved wrestler award, because he has been absolutely on fire. He gets the number 3 seed at 122. He should have a very good chance to make it to state this year, which would be great. Gus, we talked about this afterward, off camera, would be a great story.
Yeah.
Lots of Ukai guys, lots of Windsor guys here. Um, Ray Pacheco from Casa Grande, he's going to be at 134. He gets the number 7 seed. Vinny Tyrell, he gets the 3 seed at 140. Let me see who else. Dylan Jones, Jacob Quintua go 3 and 4 at 146. So that should be a good bracket to watch. We'll see if they can get to the state meet. Jared Williams gets the 2 seed at 152 from Ukiah. Caleb Quintu, I believe Jacob's brother, gets the 6 seed in that bracket. Let me see. So 159s. We got some guys in there, 167s. And these are only the seeds. These aren't even all the people that are in the damn bracket,
Yeah.
first of
Yeah.
all. So keep in mind that, remember, the top 5 wrestlers from the NBL Wrestling Championships and the top 3 wrestlers from the VVAL Wrestling Championships all made it into the NC sectional. So we have a lot more wrestlers heading in there. But obviously, the most mouth-watering matchups, because we were talking about this after off camera, excuse me, at 177. Logan Bruce, Jonah Bertoli, the top 2 guys ranked in the section. Bruce
Oh
from
yeah.
Rio, Bertoli, Cardinal Newman. They faced off again at the NBL Championships. Bruce won by pretty heavy decision. Wasn't majority decision, but won by decision. Also, we have Schwartz from Napa. He gets the 5 seed. Noah Padecki from Casa Grande gets the 7 seed. That is just an absolutely loaded bracket at 150 or 177. Excuse me. Ricky Campos gets the 8 seed at 192. That's going to be an absolute gauntlet of a bracket there too. That's going to be tough. 217, another mouthwatering matchup, another mouthwatering bracket, because we have 2, 3, 4, and 7. We have the 2, 3, 4, and 7 seeds coming from the area. Joe Ellis from Vintage, Ryan George from Montgomery, Jordan Schwarm from Ukiah, George NBL champion after upsetting Schwarm in the NBL championship match in one of the best matches I've seen in my lifetime. And then Nunes from Pioneer, he gets the number 7 seed. And then finally, we head to the heavyweights for the boys. Ed Bernsich, who isn't the heaviest at all. He's only like 230, 242 something, but he gets the top seed in section, followed by Cardinal Newman's Devin Bertoli, who's like a little cannonball. I absolutely love it. He's so much fun to watch.
Really
To
good
say the
lineman
least.
in football too.
Well, he uses it too. He likes to run people off the mat. It's pretty funny. So that should be good too. We have a lot of guys that can make it to state, Gus. Although we only have two people per weight class going to state, we do have a lot of guys that could make it down to Bakersfield this year.
That's
Um,
such a brutal thing to go from 3 people to 2. Is like you don't
it's the
realize how
biggest difference.
you don't I mean, like, just even going from a third place finish, like you have to be perfect the entire, like there's can be like at least what we, with a third place finish, there's the chance that you could lose at some point and then, wrestle through the the consolation tournament, and have a chance to make it back out, and finish in that third spot. But now you have to be perfect the entire way and make the finals. Like there's no other way to do it, which is so hard. So, man, good luck to all of our local wrestlers, man, because that is such a tough task. But I think you're right. I mean, just rattling off some of those names, we have a lot of good boys wrestlers around here. So I think that there is a good chance for a couple of kids to be to punch their tickets down to Bakersfield later this week.
Yeah, totally, totally. Going to the girls real quick. Obviously, I know we're kind of running pretty late here, but so the way the girls works is no matter what, every single girl is pretty much in the NCS as it is, anyways. But lots of local talent. Obviously, starting off with Noelle Alexander, who's also very improved from last year. She's the 2 seed at 135. She's got a very good chance to place at state, I believe, this year. She's that good. Um, Kind of go down the list a little bit. Kayla Ziedler's in that bracket as well. Casa Grande, returning section champion. Miyako Pizzorno's in there as well. She's also a returning section champion from a couple years back, not this past year, but she's a. We have Ronnie Self from Windsor at 190. I believe she's going to be the top seed. She's got a very good chance to make state, as does Napa's Jesse Wood, who has a bye first round as well. Man, we are just complete. We are just like I was saying before I went on this little rambling rant here, but individually we are so good this year in terms of how good our wrestlers are, and I think Sonoma County and Napa County and beyond are really on the upswing here in terms of wrestling.
Mm.
So we could have. I wouldn't be surprised if we have multiple people both on the guys and girls side going to state. Maybe double digits. Maybe I'm just
Whoa,
talking crazy now,
whoa,
but
whoa,
could double digits, man. You
whoa.
never know. You never know. But then again, wrestling is such a tough sport, so we'll see. Plus, if you go on the NCS website, you can look at the boys and girls brackets, and the girls brackets are so big for
It's a
each
lot.
weight. They
It's
are
a lot.
huge.
It's a lot.
So it's a gauntlet to get there, but definitely worth it if you make it to state. And the way state works is it's all one division too, which is pretty fun, to watch. So yep, girls at Albany, boys at James Logan. I will have a wrestling preview going up in the next couple days, just to kind of make it a little more compact and condensed for you guys, because I know that was a lot and was hard to follow. But yeah, man, we're Gus, the postseason, winter postseason, man. It's just what we're in right now.
It is here, man. So yeah, first 2 rounds of the so I guess just wrapping all this up, putting a nice little bow on this. Basketball playoffs, first 2 rounds will be this week. Anybody that wins, their second round game will obviously be playing into the semifinals next week. I think the next time we'll have a pod for you guys will be after, I think, the NCS championships and heading into the NorCal playoffs, I want to say. So that's good job by us. Good timing by us here to time this out well again. But yeah, next time we talk to you guys, it'll be 2 weeks from now, and the NCS basketball championships, or just in general section championships will be over, and actually also the state wrestling championships will be over as well. So wrestling for state running the February 22nd to the 24th. Obviously, NCS is happening this weekend. Keep an eye out for Keenan's preview coming later this week. But yeah, boys basketball, or just basketball in general as well. Championship games are going to be the 23rd and the 24th. And then I think it's the same date. So I want to say as well for soccer too. So yeah, I mean, it was a crazy last 2 weeks of the regular season for all these sports, and it's going to be again an even wilder next couple weeks of the playoffs here. So excited to see how it all shakes out. Keenan, any last thoughts before we say goodbye to the people again here for 2 more weeks?
No, it's busy time, busy time for sure. But this is why we do what we do, man. We love this kind of stuff, and here's to great games, great matches, great meets, whichever sport you follow, and yeah, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
We'll have you all covered here until then. So yeah, but yeah, thanks again everyone for tuning in, and yeah, catch y'all next time.